Negative thoughts are inevitable in our lives, whether you're standing on a tee box, looking at a lot of water, or you're at your desk dealing with a situation, or you're at home in a difficult conversation with your spouse. Negative thoughts are unavoidable, at least in my experience. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I'm an executive coach that helps financial professionals get wealthy outside of the office in their mind, their body, and their relationships. I'm an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat inside of corporate America as a Wall Street professional for 20 years, probably in a seat just like you do right now. If I can do it, so can you, and I can show you how. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift podcast. My name is Brian. I am so excited to be able to take one of my passions and deliver a message via an avenue that is my profession and also another one of my passions, which is helping people become the most elite versions of themselves. And what better way to do that than the game of golf? In a perfect world, I would have been able to deliver this content last week when it was fresh on everyone's mind, with Rory McIlroy winning the career Grand Slam after he won the Masters in epic fashion. He took us on a roller coaster ride. For those who watched on Sunday, we thought he had it in the bag. Well, I guess we thought he had it in the bag. Then we thought he lost the bag. Then we thought he had it in the bag. Then we thought he fell on himself again and lost the bag. And then he had it in the bag. And it was a pretty epic roller coaster ride for the entire day to watch him push through adversity and step up to the challenge and almost give it away and get it back and never really give up. And I obviously spent a lot of time watching the TV coverage throughout the weekend and started to pick up a couple of things even before Sunday, and then spent some time listening to him after in his post-game, post-round press conference, and picked up even a few more nuggets of mental performance wisdom that I thought would be really helpful to share. This is a message I delivered in emergency fashion to my clients earlier this week or last week, right after the Masters was over. They get the good stuff first. But I thought it would be really helpful to summarize it and to maybe even stretch on it a little bit in this podcast episode, because I know it will help all of you, because it's really helped me frame much of some of the things I've been struggling with, quite honestly, in my mental game. We all have our own mental games. We're all athletes in some form or another, in air quotes. Some of us are trying to physically become better athletes, and some of us just want to be better business athletes. And a lot of us want to be both. And that's where I'm really good at what I do, and we're really good at what we do inside of High Performance Health and the Success Lift program. And so I thought I'd take you through three things I took away from Rory's performance, but really a lot of the information that I heard around the week, his preparation, his coaching, some of the things he thinks about, negative thoughts. Spoiler alert, elite professionals, some of the greatest to ever do it in the game, have negative thoughts, and some of the ways that he dealt with that. And then what ultimately I think was the X factor for him over the last couple of years in his kind of resurgence to being around the hunt in several different big tournaments, winning some big tournaments. He won the Players Championship earlier this year. And I took a nugget away from something that he said that I saw in a clip over the weekend too. And so let's get into it, because I think, number one, if you listen to me on a regular basis, you may share some of the things that I find. We may have some things in common. And I love golf. I'm an ex-basketball player. I played basketball in college competitively. I never picked up a golf club. Well, that's not true. I started caddying when I was 16 years old. It's the first time I ever picked up a golf club, but I really didn't start playing golf until my mid to late 20s. I joined a golf club near my home in Tenafly, New Jersey. Shout out to Knickerbocker Country Club. I'm still a member there. I absolutely love that place. I miss it so much. I miss the people. I'll be back soon, everyone who's listening from Knickerbocker. I'll be back soon. Can't wait to see everybody. I love the game of golf. And whether you do or not, you could take these tools, these thought processes, and you can apply them to any sport that you play. And more importantly, you can apply it to your life. And that's why I'm sharing it with you, because this is not a golf message. This is a mental performance message. This is a message on dealing with a lot of the things that we all deal with on a regular basis. So let's jump right into it. And these are a few things that I took away from, obviously, an incredible weekend of golf last week, but that I know has already been implemented into my life, and I'm sharing with clients. And I hope they're implementing in theirs as well. I don't know when he did. I probably should have looked this up, because I actually said it in the video when I made it for my clients. Rory McIlroy hired Dr. Bob Rotella, and he is a legendary mental performance coach. I think he specifically works with golfers, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, they referenced some conversations and some work that they were doing together. And the one thing that I took away from hearing what he said was they are always relentlessly pursuing and relentlessly obsessed on the next shot. And anyone who plays golf knows that you can really get yourself into a negative headspace in the game of golf by focusing on things that happened in the past. And it's very cliche to say, but golf is a funny sport where you get to do it one time, and then you have to wait several minutes at least before you do it again. And so if you're like me sometimes and you stand on a tee box and you hit it 50 yards offline, 280, 290, 310 maybe, but still 50 yards offline, no good. You have a lot of time before you actually get to go correct that mistake. And oh, by the way, that mistake might exponentially cost you strokes, because maybe you hit it into a penalty area or you're not able to hit a normal shot afterwards. So it's imperative in the game of golf for you to really recenter yourself, because I liken it to basketball, because that's something that I'm obviously very familiar with. If I miss a layup in basketball, if I miss a shot, if I make a mistake that I should have been able to do efficiently most of the time, yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it bothers me. But I might be able to tip in my own miss right away. I can at least hustle back on defense and within seconds feel like I'm making a contribution. Maybe go play great D, get a rebound, set a good screen, pick up a charge, whatever it may be. I can tip the ball out if I missed a shot, but I can't control it myself. I can tip it out to a teammate. You can correct your errors a lot quicker in a faster paced game like basketball, which is what I'm used to. And in life, a lot of times we can't correct errors instantly. Errors cost us time, money, mental anguish, stress, frustration. And many times those mistakes, that bad shot, can't be fixed. And more importantly, everything can likely be fixed. It can't be fixed immediately. And so it can send us down this rabbit hole of knock-on decisions that we make and responses. I've talked a lot about recently, especially with my clients. I've mentioned it on the podcast. The equation E plus R equals O, your event plus your response equals, your outcome. Your outcome is just something you influence via the response. The event oftentimes is completely out of your control. But the crazy thing is that people allow the things out of their control, the events that happen, to then affect their response. And while that's a very natural thing to do, oftentimes we are responding in a way that does not look anything like and align with the result that we want, the outcome, the O that we actually want in our lives. And so that manifests itself in a lot of different, easy examples, like you're stressed out because of work, so you come home and you're a jerk to your family. Or maybe you eat poorly, or you drink too much, or you sleep in because you stayed up late, because you were stressed out, because you had a bottle of wine. And all of these events, or these responses, I guess is the right way to say that, all of these responses really literally have nothing to do with the event. We're the ones that connect them. We tie them together. We tell ourselves that we need to de-stress. We tell ourselves we need to just numb out a little bit and just disconnect and forget about it. Well, I don't need to remind you that there are a million ways that you can de-stress and disconnect and remove yourself from the frustration of a particular event. Human beings are just professionals at choosing really shitty choices, right? We're really, really good at making poor choices when it comes to responding to adverse events. And so that was a big focus of theirs, because in golf, all you can do is play the next shot. You can't even play the one after that. You have to play the shot in front of you at all times. And so it was their relentless pursuit of this next shot mentality that I thought was pretty cool, because you can really get in your head as a golfer. There's a lot of technical stuff that can come in. There's a lot of history. You can remember a putt of a similar length that you just missed. You can remember a tee box that you stood on the day before and you hit it off the freaking planet. All of these thoughts can come into your head, and you really just have to figure out how to focus on the next shot. And in life, that's really all we have. Yesterday, you can't do a whole lot about. Tomorrow, you can only influence via what you can do right now. And that's why they call it the present. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to focus on what you're doing right now and being in the moment. Now, I mentioned negative thoughts, and that was another thing I picked up from watching a bunch of the coverage over the weekend. And it was a clip that Rory McIlroy talked about where he was referencing after his Players' Championship win. For those of you who don't know, the Players' Championship is kind of referred to as like the fifth major. It's at TPC Sawgrass in Florida. If you've never played that course, it's a great course. It takes about 5.5 hours to play. So after the first time you go, to me anyway, I'm cool. I'm done. I've played it twice. It was awesome. Hit it on the green both times. It's on 17. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. I did dump it in the water the second time, and then I hit it to a foot, and I made 4. The other time I lipped out birdie, hit it to about 15 feet. It's a different tee for the amateurs. It's a much less intimidating tee shot. For those of you who've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's way over to the left. You don't see that pop bunker on the right. They usually don't put the pin where it is on Sundays. Anyway, the 17th hole at TPC Sawgrass is this iconic island green. And it's a relatively short shot, but it's pretty windy. The wind can pick up. It's hard to judge. There's this amphitheater all around you. It's this very epic shot in golf. And obviously the conditions are much harder when the professionals are playing there than when an amateur like me is. But it can really cause you some negative thoughts as you're standing over the ball. And one thing that I heard Rory McIlroy say was, it's impossible to come off of the 16th green, which is about 100 or so yards away, over to your right if you're standing on the tee, and you look over when you're on the 16th green and there's water all in between you and 17, and you see this huge theater of people, and you see the groups in front of you. And he said it's impossible for him not to walk off that green. It's a pretty long walk. It's a 150 yard walk as you kind of, wind your way around over to the tee box. And he said it's impossible for him not to think about hitting it in the water. And I was pretty floored by that, because this is one of the best golfers in the history of the game. And it's a short shot for them. It's a wedge. It's a 9-iron for them at most. And to hear someone who's that good say that he has thoughts about a disastrous outcome that can ruin somebody's tournament at the wrong time was pretty comforting, actually, to me, because I think about hitting it in the water and hitting it in the woods and hitting it 50 yards offline all the time. And so it was pretty comforting to hear that somebody like Rory thinks of that too. Now, that's not where he stops though. And that's the lesson that I want to bring up, because he has developed a process to replace the negative thoughts that come into his head. And that's another thing that he has worked on with his mental performance coach. Negative thoughts are inevitable in our lives, whether you're standing on a tee box, looking at a lot of water, or you're at your desk dealing with a situation, or you're at home in a difficult conversation with your spouse. Negative thoughts are unavoidable, at least in my experience. And the mistake that I think so many people make, and when I say so many people, I can talk to my own experience, and I can talk to the experience of the hundreds of people who are just like you, who I've had conversation after conversation after conversation with. And so if there's commonality between me, who I think is a lot like you, and them, who I know is a lot like you, you probably have the same thoughts from time to time. And so here's how I think that can help you. What we do is, especially as high performers, especially a lot of men do this, is we talk to ourselves about why we're even having that thought. And we run ourselves through this cycle of like, I shouldn't think this way. Why am I thinking this way? I'm weak for thinking this way. Like, and to me, that is something that I think is like, you're never gonna not have them. And to consistently bang your head up against the wall to try to fight back these thoughts, I think is an error for all of us. And so what I do in my own life, and a strategy inside of our programs here, is this concept called reject and replace. And this is exactly to a T what Rory described. He described having that thought of dumping it in the water and maybe ruining his tournament. And he's learned techniques to be able to then replace that thought with a more positive outcome, with a desirable one. And so the lesson for you here is that you're never going to get rid of that negative thought, but you do have the power to then talk to yourself more instead of just listening to yourself. That is a very classic personal development tagline. Talk to yourself more, listen to yourself less. I've often described our own internal chatter and our brains to my clients, like referencing like a crazy ass roommate. What if you had this crazy roommate that wouldn't shut up, that is never not by your side, that is following you all over the house, that sits down on the couch with you, that watches TV, and that just chirps in your ear all the time? And this freaking roommate is a psychopath. This guy or girl always talks a lot of smack and always tells you that you're not good enough and always questions why you're doing something and always wants you to second guess yourself and always wants you to look for the negative in a particular situation. And even when you have a pretty good day, lets you dwell on the one thing that maybe didn't go your way or wasn't perfect. If that was a human being, okay, if that person was a real person sitting next to you, at some point, you would get fed up with that crap and you would look at them and you would tell them to shut the F up. All right. But because it's our internal dialogue and it's our own voices from our brain, we don't do anything. We just sit there and we take it and we take it and we take it. And so I don't think it's possible to tell that person inside your head to shut up, except I think you can start to speak over that person and tell that person what you do want to happen instead, and have more positive self-talk and reject the things that they're saying. You can reject any thought, anything you hear at any time. In fact, I often, under my breath, when someone's talking or someone's saying some weak ass BS, I often just say to myself, reject, reject, reject. I do not want that entering my mind. I do not want that entering inside of here. I want to keep this fortress locked, sealed, and feed it the things that I want to feed it. And so you are capable of taking a thought that you have and just leaving it be and not dwelling on it, and then taking a thought that you create yourself. You are the creator of your own thoughts. You can implant the next one. And so reject the negativity, reject the bullshit, reject the things that are bothering you, and replace it with something that you want. And that's where we have tools inside of my programs for people to tap into this desired life. More on that in one moment. This life that they desire, these goals that they have. If you don't have these things, you can't, it's like walking into the pantry and pulling something out when you're hungry. All right. If you have shit food in there, you're going to pull out something that's shit. If you have healthy food in there, you're going to pull out something that serves you and gets you closer to your goals. So we want to be able to go into the pantry of our minds and grab what we need. And in this case, we're inserting things. And so to hear him say that he walks off of a particular green, he looks at the next tee box, and then he thinks of something really bad happening, but then has the tools to be able to replace that thought with a more desirable outcome, was super encouraging, because it's, quite frankly, what I do and what we do inside of this program with the clients that I work with. Now, the last thing that he did, which I just mentioned, desire. I just mentioned, having this goal that you want. The biggest X factor that I think Rory has created in his Hall of Fame career, one of the best careers in the history of golf, right? There's only been 6 people, I think, to do what he has just done. I believe the X factor for him over the last several years has been what he said in his post-round press conference about how much the Masters tournament winning meant to him, and how much he's leaned in to actually admitting that it's a big deal over the last couple years. So many people are unwilling to admit that they want something. So many people are unwilling to let them feel that what they have right now is not enough for them, because maybe the world tells you that you are supposed to be grateful for what you have. Maybe you do have a lot more than others. Maybe it's something, religious that you follow, like, I'm becoming more and more of a religious person, I wouldn't say each day, but each week, each month. And one of the things I struggle with sometimes with, faith is like, sometimes the message that like you're supposed to just be grateful all the time, and you're not supposed to chase more, and it's like all of what you have. And like, I know that's not the message all the time, but it's like my interpretation of it sometimes. And I don't really resonate with that, man. Like, not at all, just being honest. I want more in my life, and I want to selfishly chase it so that I can create more for myself, for the people that I love, and impact people around me, in my community, the people that I work with, corporate America. And I can't do that if I stay humble and I don't push myself. And so I do think that a huge unlock for so many people, and what I heard Rory said, and this is my interpretation of what he said, was that he admitted that he really wanted it. He admitted that it was something that was eluding him for a long time. He admitted that it was really hard. And I would bet if you went back 4 or 5 years ago, when he was like, halfway through this drought of major championships and chasing golf's Grand Slam, which is, for those of you who don't know, winning all 4 major championships. I think only 6 people in the history of golf have done it, and it's like 5 of the greatest golfers ever, right? If you went and looked at if you likely, I didn't do this, but if you likely went back and looked at, maybe some of his interviews, I would bet you would see him deflecting the fact that it was a really big deal. The fact that it was a really big deal. And what you didn't see on Sunday, and what you probably haven't seen in some of his conversations over the last couple years, is how much he really cared about it, how much he wanted it, how much he truly desired it, how much he made that his North Star and his lighthouse. And when everything got difficult in his life, I'm sure he had a process to internally redirect his ship in the storm and point it right back towards that goal. And I am telling you that that is the thing in your life that you're not doing enough of. Because so many people, especially people who sit in your seat, allow these moments in time to push them off track. And then they get caught up off the tracks, and it takes them too long to get back on. And there's too many small reasons for them to get pushed off the track. And I'm telling you with 100% certainty that if you develop and you have a desire for something that's so important to you, you may not ever go off track. But when you do, and especially when you do because it's outside of your control, you will find the will to come back to the process immediately. When you double bogey 2 of your last 4 holes in the first round after having an epic first round, you find a way to come back and shoot 66 the next day, which he did on Friday. When you double bogey the first hole of the final round and lose the lead within 2 holes, which he did, you find a way to come back. When you, quite frankly, look like an amateur on the 13th hole with a short little wedge shot that most of the people that I know would have gotten it on the green, amateurs included, and you put it in the water and you start to unravel and you lose the lead again and it goes to tied, you find a way to come back. When you miss a putt to win on the last hole that is very makeable, that you probably make 9 times out of 10, and you have to go to a playoff, you find a way to come back. It's because he had this desire to achieve a particular goal. It's not because he had discipline. We all want to wait for discipline to kick in and motivation. He had motivation because of a motive. His motive was his desire to achieve this thing. And when you have that, you find yourself coming back to the process very, very quickly. And so to recap, because these 3 things I'm telling you will change your life. You have to relentlessly focus on your next shot, in air quotes. Whatever that next shot is for you. That could be the next workout. That could be the next conversation with your spouse. That could be the next meal you're going to have. That could be the next task you have at the office today. You have to find a way to take negative thoughts, reject them, and replace them with what you want. And when you're really clear on what you want, and you have an incredible, insatiable desire for it, you will find yourself going off track far less often. I hope you enjoyed these lessons. And if you didn't take a ton away from those lessons, the main lesson is watch more golf. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.